Most people think house flipping is such an easy way to make money. It's actually not. Social media shows all sort of wins but never show people who lost thousands of dollars flipping houses. In the past few years, flipping margin has dropped 40% due to high interest rate environment, rising renovation costs, and also just takes longer to sell a home. In this video, I'm going to share with you all the risks that you need to be aware of in today's market. And I'll also share with you the breakdown of the new method that we've been using, the new pivot, the lean flip method. This actually allowed us to make over 300K in the past 12 months. First thing first, we gotta recognize that the market is no longer the same as 2020, 2021. And with the interest rate being so high, a lot of major cities, buyers are kind of just sitting on the sideline.
The Canadian economy, already contending with inflation, tariffs, and a cost of living crisis, is also watching a steady and ongoing slump in the housing market.
A new report out this morning says taxes are the biggest expense for Canadian families.
It has become a lot more expensive for people to be buying or holding on any sort of properties. And this is why in the past few years, the housing inventory has gone up 25% with fewer buyers on the market. And this is why the market has shifted into buyer's market and nobody's willing to pay for premium anymore. And by the way, this isn't your fault. I lost money in house flipping in 2022 despite everything I did was correct. And this is why I knew that I need to adapt into a new strategy. And this leads to number 2. Moving to a more affordable market. Here's the truth about Tier 1 city. The price point has gone up way too much, carrying costs too much. It's just not a viable option for all of us to be flipping houses in the major cities. Higher purchase price, higher renovation costs, and higher interest rate typically means that there's just higher risk. You might be wondering that, but the appreciation is going to be so much more by the time you sell. While it might be true, it's all speculation. It can also go down the same way. And most people don't understand that the margins are always being chewed by any delay in between this whole operation. Time is really not on your side as a house flipper, and this is why I started seeing other people doing conversion type of projects, garden suite, a little bit more like an infill development. I couldn't really get behind the ideas because number 1, I've done it, I knew how challenging things can be, and number 2 is that this type of operation requires more capital, more skill set. And in reality, complicated strategy is really hard to scale. It's kind of like playing video games in the highest level when you're just starting out the game. So as soon as I realized that more complicated strategy isn't what I wanted to do, I shifted into more affordable market. It also allows me to monitor the market with a calmer mental state. And more importantly, any sort of mistakes that I made is going to be way less riskier and less expensive than any major city. And it's not just us, we also help a lot of our clients, our members in our exclusive community to shift it into more affordable market. And these are the properties that we acquired. They are all less than 200K only. And if you really think about it, from $1 million to 200K, it really allowed us to have so much more financial resource to try different simple strategy. And honestly, they're just as profitable. And if anything goes wrong where we need to default into a second strategy, which is buy and hold, it'll still cash flow. The third thing that we notice about this entire house flipping model is that the buyer of your flip project is no longer the end user. We actually stopped selling properties to the end user about 3 years ago. We're no longer looking for that premium finish and then try to look for the end user who can pay top dollars. Those type of audience are really hard to please, and honestly, it's just not a viable solution in today's market anymore. We want something a little bit faster. This is why we pick up the property, do a very light renovation, and then offload it to out-of-state investor, people who are willing to do buy and hold, or a DIY homeowners who want to kind of come in here and do a bit of work on their own. So the moment that we realized that who we're selling to is a very different audience, this also allowed us to flip houses a lot more effectively. We basically cut out all the things that doesn't need to go into a property, save the cost on renovation, and also save the time frame of the entire project, and flip it over to the right audience for them to carry on the project. These type of buyers have a higher demand in today's market because the entire real estate market is kind of like a flea market. Everybody wants deal, everybody wants potential, and they all want to save some cost on the renovation. And just to recap, the end user now haggles way faster, moves much slower, and investors, people who want to do buy and hold and DIY, those type of people move way faster. And that being said, as a house flipper, you want to shorten that time frame aggressively. Like I mentioned earlier, time is not on your side. Try to do things as quickly as possible. Avoid all the permits or avoid all the complicated strategy. If you can get the market and then finish all the work within 30 to 45 days, that's actually the sweet spot because it allows you to do all the things that's required and be able to have a lot more time on waiting for the right buyers. Typically, the time frame that we're waiting for this type of audience is actually 45 days with financing. If you get a cash buyer, they could probably close in 2 weeks, and this will allow the entire project to be kept in between 2 to 3 months only. Most beginning investors actually don't realize that carrying cost kills all the margin. I've been there, and this is why I avoid all sort of conversion project which requires permits, because all of that is really shrinking the margin. So stay away from those projects and just do something simple. And now you might be asking, so let's talk about renovation a little bit. How do you actually do everything within 30 to 45 days? Very simple. You got to drop your renovation standard as well. The strategy is very simple. You buy low, you rehab low, and you sell low.
Considered uninhabitable, and banks won't finance it. Unfortunately, the seller wouldn't go for an offer of $725, but agreed to $740. We decided that opening up the floor plan is a must, but first we have to figure out how much the foundation problem is going to cost.
So the goal here is not to do anything that you see on social media or on the internet. Very few house flippers are actually making profit out of those products. Majority of the investors are not seeing the return of their renovation costs at this moment. In today's market, $1 in doesn't actually guarantee $1 out. So you gotta be very careful. The things I recommend doing in today's market is to clean up the units, get rid of all the junk, maybe do a bit of painting, lighting a little bit, just to increase the presentation of the property. And the only thing that's more than this would be the flooring and maybe the doors of the cabinets. So we're not doing a demolition on the kitchen, bathroom, and redo everything all over again. Because here's the thing, we're now in a more affordable market. We need a time frame to be much shorter, and for the next investors or homeowners to be doing the work on their own. Everybody wants to put in sweat equity, and that's just not how we're going to do it to flip it to the end user. And the only thing that's more than the basic stuff is probably just the flooring and maybe the doors of the cabinets. We're not going to do a full renovation on the kitchen and bathrooms anymore. I get that it was important. So stop putting your emotion into this project. Always make sure you assess, is this what you want or what your buyer wants? And number 6, as a house flipper in today's market, you gotta have contingency plan. We don't want to always assume that a house will sell for the price that we want. You can always get it rented and still produce a cash flow. And that's why we pick a more affordable market, because it always means 1% rule. It always gives us an additional $300, $400, $500 per month. If we decide to keep it, we can also do a refi, bring our capital out, and wait for the market to recover a little bit before selling that property. So always have a backup plan and always choose an area that has a low vacancy rate. One of the websites that you can use to verify this is called niche.com. Type in the niche.com, your zip code, and you can easily find out if that market has a high rental demand or not. If you're having trouble finding the right market or right deal, I'm going to attach the link below. Feel free to reach out to our team. And this link flip strategy allowed us to make over $300K in the past 12 months. It's a very boring strategy. You just buy low, rehab low, and then sell low. And basically create multiple different exit strategies, from wholesaling, hoteling, all the way to just buying whole and do the refi. It's a very safe strategy. You can sleep better, and honestly, it also works in a bad market as well. If you enjoyed this video and you want to kind of dive into this link flip method by finding the off-market deals you started off with, give this video a watch.